Fleet Admiral Kethvar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the massive bioship Eternal Hunger. The living vessel pulsed around him, its walls breathing with a slow, steady rhythm. Green light flowed through veins in the ceiling, carrying nutrients to the ship's vital organs. This was the pride of the Zephyrian Dominion, a warship grown in the deep biotanks of their homeworld, not built by crude machines. The Admiral's four arms moved across the living control surfaces, feeling the ship's responses through his sensitive fingertips. His elongated skull housed a brain capable of commanding hundreds of vessels at once. Behind him, his crew worked at their stations, their movements quick and efficient. They had done this many times before. "Status report," Kethvar commanded, his voice carrying the authority of 3,000 years of Dominion rule. "200 ships ready for combat, my lord," reported his second-in-command, Veltar. "All biosystems are functioning at peak efficiency. Plasma weapons are charged and ready. The fleet awaits your orders." Kethvar looked at the tactical display floating in the air before him. Holographic representations of his ships filled the space, each one a deadly predator of the void. Cruisers shaped like giant sea creatures floated alongside destroyers that resembled massive insects. At the center, his flagship towered over them all, a biomechanical leviathan designed to strike fear into any enemy. "And our target?" the Admiral asked. "The third planet of this system, my lord. The locals call it Earth. Our scouts report a single species, bipedal creatures they call humans. Primitive technology, barely capable of faster-than-light travel. Their ships appear to be made of simple metals and powered by basic fusion reactors." Kethvar's lipless mouth curved into what might have been a smile. "How many ships do they have?" "Our long-range sensors detect perhaps 50 vessels scattered throughout their system. Most appear to be cargo ships or small patrol craft. Nothing that could threaten even one of our escorts." The Admiral nodded, satisfied. This would be another easy conquest for the Dominion. For 3 millennia, his people had swept across the outer spiral, claiming world after world. They had faced laser weapons, missile barrages, and even primitive energy shields. None had stood against the might of Zephyrian bioships. "What of their ground forces?" he asked. Veltar consulted his readings. "Approximately 8 billion individuals on the primary world. They appear to be divided into numerous tribal groups they call nations. Our intelligence suggests they still fight wars among themselves using chemical explosives and metal projectiles. Completely primitive." Kethvar walked to the great viewing port that formed the front wall of his bridge. Beyond the transparent biomembrane, space stretched endlessly. Soon, another world would bow before the Dominion. Another species would serve as slaves in their vast empire. The Zephyrians had perfected the art of conquest long ago. Their bioships were superior to any artificial vessel. Living hulls could heal damage in moments. Organic weapon systems drew power directly from stellar cores, creating plasma hot enough to melt through any known material. Their ships could adapt to enemy tactics, learning and evolving during battle. Most importantly, Zephyrian vessels were controlled by living minds linked directly to their ships' nervous systems. No artificial computer could match the speed and intuition of a bio-integrated commander. The Admiral could feel his ship's every system, sense its weapons' readiness, and coordinate with his fleet through bio-quantum links that spanned light years. "Begin the standard approach," Kethvar ordered. "All ships maintain formation. Prepare the submission broadcast." The fleet began moving deeper into the human solar system. Each ship was a work of art, its hull flowing with bioluminescent patterns that showed its mood and status. The smaller vessels darted between the larger ones like fish in an ocean current. At the formation's heart, the command ships moved with stately grace, their massive forms casting shadows across their escorts. Kethvar reviewed the intelligence reports again. The humans had achieved spaceflight only recently, within the last few centuries. Their fastest ships could barely reach a significant fraction of light speed. Their weapons were chemical rockets and crude energy beams. By Dominion standards, they were still in the Stone Age of technology. "My lord," Veltar interrupted his thoughts. "We're receiving primitive radio transmissions from the target system. Should we respond?" "Not yet. Let them see our fleet first. Fear is a useful tool." The Admiral understood psychology. Every species reacted the same way when they first saw a Zephyrian fleet. First came disbelief. Surely these massive living ships couldn't be real. Then came fear as the reality sank in. Finally came desperate. Attempts at communication, offers of tribute, pleas for mercy. Some species surrendered immediately, others tried to fight. The outcome was always the same. The Dominion had never lost a conquest, not once in 3,000 years. Sensors detect movement in their system, Veltar reported. Several human ships are changing course, moving toward our position. How many? One vessel, my lord. A single ship approaching our outer pickets. Kethvar stared at his second-in-command. One ship? Are you certain? Confirmed, Admiral. Long-range scans show a single human vessel, approximately 1 kilometer in length. It appears to be their largest warship. The Admiral's four arms gestured in amazement. One ship against his entire fleet? Either these humans were incredibly brave or incredibly stupid, perhaps both. What are they doing? He asked. The vessel has taken position beyond their system's outer planets. It appears to be waiting, my lord. Kethavar studied the tactical display. The lone human ship hung in space like a tiny metal insect, challenging a swarm of predators. Its design was crude. All straight lines and sharp angles, nothing like the flowing organic curves of Zephyrian bioships. Primitive electromagnetic signatures suggested basic fusion power and simple metal construction. Perhaps they think to negotiate, Veltar suggested. Or sacrifice themselves to buy time for their homeworld's evacuation, the Admiral replied. Either way, they show courage. I can respect that. But courage would not save them. Kethvar had seen brave species before. The crystalline beings of Zerion Prime had fought magnificently before their world was conquered. The hive minds of the cluster worlds had coordinated their defense with perfect unity. All had fallen to Zephyrian might. Continue the approach. When we reach optimal range, transmit the standard submission demand. Give them one chance to surrender. And if they refuse? Kethvar's black eyes gleamed. Then we demonstrate why the Zephyrian Dominion rules the outer spiral. One ship against 200? This will be over quickly. The fleet pressed forward, bioships pulsing with anticipation. Their weapons systems came online, plasma chambers heating to stellar temperatures. Organic targeting sensors locked onto the lone human vessel. Everything proceeded exactly as it had 1,000 times before. The Admiral felt confidence flowing through his bio-quantum link with the fleet. His commanders were eager for battle. Their ships hungered for prey. Soon, another world would join, the Dominion's vast empire. Kethvar had no way of knowing that everything he believed about human technology was wrong. He could not imagine that the primitive-appearing ship ahead of him represented capabilities beyond his understanding. The Admiral expected an easy victory. He was about to receive the greatest shock in 3,000 years of Zephyrian history. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UNS Defiance, watching the alien fleet approach on her main screen. The massive bioships moved through space like living sea creatures, their hulls pulsing with strange lights. She had never seen anything like them in her 20 years of naval service. Final count, Commander Rodriguez? She asked her tactical officer. 200 vessels, Captain. Range from escort-sized up to that monster in the center. Initial scans suggest organic construction. They're actually alive. Sarah nodded grimly. She had read the reports from the outer sensor stations. When the aliens first appeared at the edge of the solar system, Earth's deep space monitors had gone crazy with readings they couldn't explain. Living ships, weapons that fired concentrated stellar plasma, bio-quantum communication systems that operated faster than light. Distance to the fleet? Closing to weapon range in 30 minutes, ma'am. The captain looked around her bridge crew. These were good people, veterans of Earth's recent civil conflicts, trained on the most advanced technology humanity had ever created. But they all knew the odds. One ship against 200. Even with their advantages, this would be nearly, impossible. Status of our defensive systems? Gravity manipulation fields online and stable, reported Chief Engineer Park from his station. Quantum tunneling drives ready for combat maneuvers. All particle beam arrays charged and locked on target. Sarah felt a moment of pride in her ship. The UNS Defiance represented the absolute peak of human military technology. Her hull was constructed from programmable matter that could reshape itself on command. Her engines manipulated space-time itself, allowing movements that seemed to break the laws of physics. Her weapons could tear apart matter at the subatomic level. But even the most advanced human ship had never faced anything like this alien fleet. "Captain," called Lieutenant Kim from the communication station. "We're receiving a transmission from the lead alien vessel." "Put it on screen." The main display changed to show a tall, thin figure with 4 arms and an elongated skull. Its black eyes stared directly at the camera with obvious arrogance. When it spoke, the universal translator converted its words into English. "Primitive humans of the 3rd planet. I am Fleet Admiral Kethvar of the Zephyrian Dominion. Your species will now submit to our rule. Surrender your world immediately, and your deaths will be swift. Resist, and you will suffer before you die. You have one of your time periods you call minutes to respond." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in silence. "Well," said Commander Rodriguez after a moment. "They seem friendly." Sarah almost smiled despite the situation. Her crew's ability to find humor even in the face of death was very human. It was one of the things that made her proud to serve with them. "Communications. Open a channel to the alien flagship." "Channel open, Captain." Sarah straightened her uniform and looked directly into the camera. When she spoke, her voice carried all the authority of Earth's united military forces. "Fleet Admiral Kethvar, I am Captain Sarah Chen of the United Nations Space Force. Your demand is rejected. If you want Earth, you'll have to come and take it." She made a cutting motion across her throat, and Lieutenant Kim closed the channel. "Think that got the message across?" Rodriguez asked. "Oh, I'm sure it did. Now let's see how they react to being told no." Sarah walked to her command chair and activated her personal displays. Around her, the bridge hummed with quiet efficiency as her crew prepared for battle. She could feel the ship's systems responding. To her neural interface, powerful computers linking her mind directly to the Defiance's weapons and sensors. The aliens had made a critical error. They assumed human technology was primitive because it looked different from their organic ships. They saw metal hulls and fusion signatures and concluded that humans were still using basic technology. What they didn't understand was that humanity had learned the value of deception from thousands of years of warfare against each other. "Captain, the alien fleet is changing formation," Rodriguez reported. "They're spreading out into attack formation." "Expected. They probably think overwhelming firepower will end this quickly." Sarah accessed her tactical systems, reviewing the Armada battle plans she had developed during the long wait for the aliens' arrival. The Defiance carried weapons and defenses that existed nowhere else in known space. Human scientists had spent decades developing technology specifically designed to fight advanced alien civilizations. Engineering? Status on the Nexus array? "All quantum entanglement links established, Captain," Chief Park replied. "We have solid connections to every major ship in the solar system. The network is ready." The Nexus array was humanity's greatest secret. What appeared to be a single ship facing the alien fleet was actually the focal point of Earth's entire defensive network. Through quantum entanglement, the Defiance could coordinate with every human vessel from Mercury to Pluto, turning the entire solar system into one massive weapons platform. "Sensors detect energy buildup in the alien ships," Rodriguez announced. "They're charging weapons." "All hands, battle stations," Sarah ordered. "This is not a drill. We are about to engage a hostile alien fleet. Remember your training, trust your equipment, and show these aliens what humans can do." The bridge lights dimmed to battle configuration. Emergency bulkheads sealed automatically. Throughout the ship, her crew took their positions with the calm professionalism that marked Earth's best military personnel. "Captain," called Lieutenant Kim, "we're receiving priority transmissions from Earth Defense Command." On speaker. "Admiral," Martinez's voice filled the bridge. "Captain Chen, the entire planet is watching. Our fastest ships are still 18 hours away from your position. You're on your own until then. Show them what the human race is made of." "Understood, Admiral. Defiance out." Sarah settled into her command chair and closed her eyes for a moment. Through her neural link, she could feel the ship around her like an extension of her own body. The Defiance was ready. Her crew was ready. Now came the hard part. Range to enemy fleet? 200,000 kilometers and closing fast. They'll be in firing range in 90 seconds. Defensive fields? Gravity. Manipulation online. We're ready to deflect their attacks. Sarah opened her eyes and looked at the tactical display. The alien ships were beautiful in their own way, like deadly flowers blooming in the void. But beauty wouldn't save them from what was coming. All weapons, prepare to fire on my command. Show me target solutions for their lead ships. Aye, Captain. Particle beams locked and ready. The next few minutes would determine humanity's future. If the Defiance failed, Earth would fall to alien conquest. But if she succeeded, the galaxy would learn that humans were not the primitive species they appeared to be. Sarah Chen had trained her entire life for this moment. Now, it was time to prove that one human ship could stand against overwhelming odds. Fleet Admiral Kethvar watched the human ship through his bioship's living sensors. The primitive vessel hung motionless in space, dwarfed by his massive fleet. Its crude metal hull reflected starlight in harsh angles, so different from the flowing curves of Zephyrian bioships. The humans refused to surrender, my lord, Veltar reported. Their captain sent a message telling us to come and take it. Kethvar's 4 arms gestured in amusement. The bravery was admirable but foolish. One ship against his entire fleet? These humans clearly didn't understand the power they faced. Very well. Begin the attack. Forward squadrons. Demonstrate Zephyrian superiority. Destroy that vessel quickly so we can proceed to their homeworld. 20 of his fastest cruisers surged forward, their bio-hulls pulsing with excitement. Each ship was a predator evolved for killing, with weapons that had conquered 100 worlds. Plasma cannons charged along their sides, drawing energy from miniature stellar cores embedded in their organic structures. Range to target, 50,000 kilometers. His weapons officer announced. All ships report ready to fire. Open fire. The Zephyrian ships released their fury. 20 beams of concentrated stellar plasma lanced across space, each one carrying enough energy to vaporize a mountain. The attack should have turned the human ship into expanding gas in seconds. Instead, something impossible happened. The plasma beams curved away from the human vessel as if hitting an invisible barrier. The deadly energy streams bent in impossible directions, deflected by forces Kethvar couldn't understand. Some beams curved completely around the human ship and continued into empty space. Others seemed to fold back on themselves and disappear. What happened? The Admiral demanded. Why didn't our weapons hit? His crew worked frantically at their bio-consoles, organic interfaces pulsing with confused patterns. Unknown, my lord. Our plasma streams appear to have been redirected somehow. Impossible. No known technology can deflect stellar plasma, but even as Kethvar spoke, he watched the sensor readings with growing alarm. The human ship wasn't using energy shields like most species. Instead, it seemed to be manipulating space itself, bending the fabric of reality to redirect incoming attacks. Sir, the human vessel is moving, Veltar reported. On the tactical display, the small metal ship began to move in ways that defied everything Kethvar knew about space combat. Instead of accelerating gradually like normal vessels, it simply appeared in a new position instantly. Then it appeared somewhere else, and somewhere else again. How are they doing that? He demanded. Our sensors can't track their movement properly. They appear to be teleporting somehow. The Admiral stared at the display in shock. Teleportation was theoretical at best. Even Zephyrian biotechnology had never achieved anything close to it. Yet this primitive human ship was moving through space as if the normal laws of physics didn't apply. Then the humans fired back. A beam of pale blue light lanced out from the human vessel and struck one of his cruisers. The bioship's living hull, evolved to withstand any conventional weapon, simply disappeared. Not destroyed, not vaporized. It ceased to exist. Where a 200-meter warship had been, now there was only empty space. Report! Kethvar shouted. The cruel Fang has been eliminated, my lord. Whatever weapon they used, it completely disintegrated our ship at the molecular level. Another blue beam reached out and claimed a second cruiser, then a third. Each time a Zephyrian vessel simply vanished from existence, leaving behind no debris, no energy signature, nothing at all. All ships, evasive maneuvers, the Admiral commanded. Whatever weapons they're using, avoid them at all costs. His remaining cruisers scattered, trying to present more difficult targets. But the human ship continued its impossible movements, appearing and disappearing throughout the battle zone. Each time it materialized, another Zephyrian vessel died. Sir, we're reading massive gravitational distortions around the human ship, his science officer reported, her voice tight with fear. "They're not just manipulating space, they're manipulating gravity itself." As if to prove her point, the human vessel fired a different weapon. This time, instead of a beam, they launched what appeared to be a sphere of twisted space. When it reached a cluster of Zephyrian destroyers, the sphere expanded and pulled the bioships into itself, crushing them into a point of infinite density. Kethvar watched in horror as 5 of his ships were compressed into a miniature black hole that formed and evaporated in seconds. The forces involved were beyond his comprehension. "Impossible," he whispered. "No species should have this technology." "Orders, my lord?" Veltar asked, his voice shaking. The Admiral's mind raced. In 30 seconds of combat, he had lost 8 ships to a single human vessel. His weapons couldn't touch their enemy, while the humans wielded forces that treated the laws of physics as suggestions. "Full fleet assault," he ordered. "All ships converge on the human vessel. Overwhelming numbers will prevail." But even as he gave the command, Kethvar felt doubt creeping into his mind. What if overwhelming numbers weren't enough? What if these humans possessed technology so advanced that his entire fleet was obsolete? The human ship fired again, and 2 more cruisers vanished into nothingness. The remaining Zephyrian vessels pressed forward, but their plasma weapons continued to bend, harmlessly around their target. It was like fighting a ghost that could strike back with the power of gods. "Sir, the human ship is hailing us," his communications officer announced. "Put it through." Captain Chen's image appeared on his bio screen, her face calm and professional, despite the impossible battle raging around her ship. "Admiral Kethvar, you've seen what one human vessel can do. Withdraw now, and your remaining ships might survive. Continue this attack, and none of you will live to report back to your dominion." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Kethvar stared at the tactical display. In 1 minute of combat, he had lost 10 ships to an enemy. He couldn't hit with weapons that seemed to come from another universe entirely. 3,000 years of Zephyrian military superiority had just been shattered by a single primitive metal ship. But retreat was impossible. The Dominion had never retreated. Never. To return home with most of his fleet destroyed by one human vessel would mean disgrace beyond imagination. "All ships, continue the attack," he commanded. "Whatever technology they possess, there's still only one ship. We will overwhelm them." But as more human weapons reached out across space, erasing his vessels from existence with casual ease, Kethvar began to realize he had made a terrible mistake. These humans were not primitive at all. They were something far worse. They were advanced beyond his understanding. Captain Sarah Chen felt the defiance respond to her thoughts, as if the ship were part of her own body. Through her neural interface, she could sense every system, every weapon, every defensive field. The alien plasma beams continued to bend harmlessly around her vessel, deflected by gravity fields that treated space like clay to be molded. "Status report," she ordered, watching the tactical display as more Zephyrian ships closed in. 15 enemy vessels eliminated, Commander Rodriguez announced. "No damage to our systems, gravity shields holding at full strength." Sarah nodded, but she knew the easy part was over. The aliens had seen their forward ships destroyed and were now committing their entire fleet to the attack. 200 bioships were converging on her position, their weapons charging for a massive coordinated strike. "Chief Park, are you ready for full network activation?" "Standing by, Captain." All quantum entanglement links stable and verified. This was the moment Sarah had been preparing for. What the aliens didn't know was that the Defiance was never intended to fight alone. For the past hour, while facing the alien fleet, her ship had been quietly establishing quantum links with every major human vessel in the solar system. "Rodriguez, show me the network status." The tactical display shifted to reveal the true scope of Earth's defenses. 57 ships scattered from Mercury to Pluto, all connected through quantum entanglement to the Defiance's targeting computers. Battleships hidden behind asteroid belts, cruisers lurking in the outer system, even converted cargo haulers carrying experimental weapons. "All units report ready, Captain. We have firing solutions on the entire alien fleet." Sarah smiled grimly. The Zephyrians thought they were fighting one ship, They were about to discover they faced humanity's entire military force. Activate the Nexus Array. All ships, commence coordinated attack. Space around the alien fleet suddenly filled with weapons fire from impossible directions. Particle beams materialized out of empty space, fired by human ships hundreds of millions of kilometers away, but delivered through quantum tunneling technology. Gravity torpedoes appeared behind alien vessels, launched from Earth's moon but phased through dimensions to strike from unexpected angles. Fleet Admiral Kethvar watched his tactical display with growing horror as his ships began dying by the dozens. Weapons appeared from directions where no enemy ships existed. Energy beams struck his vessels from above, below, behind, from every direction at once. It was as if the entire solar system had become hostile. "Report!" he shouted over the chaos filling his bridge. "Unknown, my lord! We're detecting weapon signatures from across the system, but our sensors show only the one human ship." Kethvar's bioship shuddered as something struck its hull. Alarms wailed through the organic corridors as the living vessel's immune system tried to respond to damage it couldn't understand. A section of the ship's bioarmor simply ceased to exist, as if eaten away by invisible acid. "They're using some form of quantum weapon delivery," his science officer reported, her voice tight with panic. "Somehow they're firing from multiple locations simultaneously." The Admiral watched another squadron of his ships disappear in a coordinated strike. Gravity weapons crushed 3 vessels into singular points, while particle beams disintegrated. 2 more at the atomic level. In seconds, 5 more ships vanished from his fleet. "This is impossible," he muttered. "One ship cannot coordinate attacks from across an entire star system." But the evidence was overwhelming. The single human vessel was somehow directing weapons fire from positions light hours away, all timed perfectly to strike his fleet in coordinated volleys. The precision was incredible. Each attack hit exactly where it would cause maximum damage. "Sir, we're receiving damage reports from across the fleet," Veltar announced. 40 ships destroyed in the last 2 minutes. The rate of loss is accelerating." Kethvar felt his confidence cracking. In his 3,000-year history, the Zephyrian Dominion had never lost more than a handful of ships in any single battle. Now he was watching his entire fleet being systematically destroyed by an enemy that seemed to control forces beyond his understanding. Another coordinated strike eliminated 6 more bioships. The weapons appeared instantly at point-blank range, giving his vessels no time to evade. Whatever technology the humans possessed, it treated distance and time as minor inconveniences. "All ships, emergency scatter pattern," he commanded. "Maximum dispersion!" His remaining vessels spread out across millions of kilometers, trying to make coordinated attacks more difficult. But the human weapons followed them effortlessly. No matter how far his ships ran, the mysterious attacks found them. Through his bio-quantum link with the fleet, Kethvar could feel his commander's growing panic. These were warriors who had conquered hundreds of worlds, veterans of countless battles. But they had never faced anything like this. Their weapons couldn't touch the enemy, while the humans struck from impossible positions with impossible accuracy. "Sir, the human ship is hailing us again," his communications officer reported. The image of Captain Chen appeared on his screen, her expression calm despite the devastating battle raging around her ship. "Admiral, you're down to 130 vessels. Your bioships are impressive, but they're not designed for this kind of warfare. Surrender now, and I'll allow your surviving ships to retreat. Continue fighting, and none of you will return home." The transmission ended, leaving Kethvar staring at his tactical display. In 5 minutes of combat, he had lost 70 ships to an enemy he still couldn't properly target. The humans weren't just defeating him, they were toying with him. "My lord," Veltar said quietly, "perhaps we should consider—" "Never," Kethvar snarled. "The Dominion does not surrender. We are the apex predators of space. We have never been defeated." But even as he spoke, another coordinated human strike eliminated 8 more of his ships. The bio-vessels died screaming across. The quantum link, their living hulls dissolved by weapons that shouldn't exist. Kethvar realized with growing horror that everything he believed about Zephyrian superiority was wrong. These humans possessed technology centuries beyond his own. Worse, they had been hiding it, allowing his scouts to see only primitive ships and basic weapons. The humans had been preparing for this encounter. They had studied his people's tactics and developed specific countermeasures. While the Dominion relied on brute force and overwhelming firepower, the humans fought with precision and impossible coordination. "All ships, final assault!" he commanded desperately. "Ram the human vessel if necessary. We will not be defeated by primitives." His remaining bioships charged toward the lone human vessel, weapons firing desperately. But their plasma beams continued to bend around the Defiance, like water around a stone, while human weapons reached out from impossible directions to claim more victims. As his fleet died around him, Kethvar began to understand a terrible truth. The humans weren't primitive at all. They were the most advanced species he had ever encountered, and they had been waiting for someone exactly like him to underestimate them. The age of Zephyrian dominance was ending, and humanity was about to take its place. The final 2 minutes of the battle felt like hours to Fleet Admiral Kethvar. Around his flagship, the last remnants of his once mighty fleet died in brilliant flashes of light. Human weapons continued to appear from impossible directions. Each strike perfectly timed and precisely targeted. 60 ships remaining, my lord, Veltar reported, his voice hollow with defeat. Rate of loss holding steady at 15 ships per minute. Kethvar gripped the biocontrols of his ship with all 4 arms, feeling the eternal hunger's pain through their neural link. The massive vessel had taken multiple hits from human particle beams, and its living hull was struggling to heal damage that seemed to eat away at its very molecular structure. "Sir, incoming transmission from the human vessel." Captain Chen's face appeared once more on his screen. This time, her expression showed something that might have been pity. "Admiral, you have 30 seconds to order your fleet to stand down. After that, I will not be able to guarantee any survivors." The transmission ended. Kethvar stared at the tactical display, watching the countdown timer that appeared in the corner. His fleet, the pride of the Zephyrian Dominion, was about to be completely destroyed by a single human ship. "My lord," Veltar said quietly, "we must surrender. There is no shame in yielding to superior technology." But Kethvar's pride ran deeper than logic. For 3,000 years, his people had ruled the outer spiral through superior force. They had never retreated, never surrendered. To return home defeated would mean the end of everything the Dominion represented. "No," he said firmly. "We are Zephyrian. We do not yield to anyone." The countdown reached 0. What happened next would be recorded in the archives of a dozen species as the most devastating display of military power ever witnessed. The human vessel Defiance became the focal point for weapons fire from across the entire solar system. Particle beams converged from 57 different ships, all arriving at precisely the same moment through quantum tunneling technology. The remaining Zephyrian bioships died in less than 10 seconds. Not destroyed, simply erased from existence, as if they had never been there at all. Gravity weapons compressed some vessels into singular points. Quantum disruptors phased others out of normal space-time. Particle beams dissolved the rest at the subatomic level. Kethvar felt each death through his bio-quantum link with the fleet. The screaming of dying ships filled his mind as their living hulls were torn apart by forces they couldn't comprehend. One by one, the voices went silent. Finally, only the eternal hunger remained, alone in the void where moments before a mighty armada had floated. "All ships gone," Veltar whispered. 200 vessels, all gone. The human ship appeared directly in front of them, having teleported across space to face the flagship at point-blank range. Through the viewing membrane, Kethvar could see the crude metal hull that had just destroyed the greatest fleet in Dominion history. Captain Chen's voice filled the bridge through their communications system. "Admiral Kethvar, you are the soul, survivor of your fleet. I'm offering you one final chance to surrender and return to your people with a message." Kethvar closed his eyes, feeling the weight of absolute defeat. His entire fleet, gone in 5 minutes. Ships that had taken decades to grow. Warriors who had trained for centuries, all eliminated by weapons that treated the laws of physics as minor suggestions. "What message?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "That humanity is not as primitive as you believed. That Earth is under our protection, and that any future aggression against human space will be met with the complete destruction of whoever is foolish enough to attempt it." The Admiral opened his eyes and looked at his remaining crew. They stared back at him with expressions of shock and despair. These were the survivors of the greatest military disaster in Zephyrian history. "I accept your terms," Kethvar said finally. The words tasted like poison in his mouth, but he had no choice. His pride had already cost him everything. Wise decision. "You may return to your territory. Carry our message to your leaders. Earth is not defenseless, and humanity is not weak. We have been preparing for this day for a very long time." The human ship began to move away, then paused. Captain Chen's voice came once more over the communications channel. "Admiral, one more thing. Your scouts reported seeing only primitive technology because that's what we wanted you to see. We've been watching your expansion for decades. We knew eventually you would come for Earth, so we prepared. Every ship you destroyed today underestimated us. Don't make that mistake again." The Defiance vanished, teleporting away through quantum space, leaving the Eternal Hunger alone among the debris, fields where a mighty fleet had died. Kethvar stood in silence for long minutes, processing what had just happened. His bioship's sensors detected no trace of the 200 vessels that had accompanied him into this system. The humans had been so thorough in their destruction that not even wreckage remained. "Set course for home," he ordered finally. "Maximum speed." "Yes, my lord," Veltar replied quietly. As the Eternal Hunger began its long journey back to Dominion space, Kethvar composed his report to the High Council. How could he explain that the greatest fleet in their history had been destroyed by a single enemy vessel? How could he describe weapons that manipulated space and time itself? But he would have to try. The Dominion needed to know that a new power had emerged in the galaxy, a species that hid its true capabilities behind a mask of primitiveness. A race that had turned an entire star system into a coordinated weapon. The humans had sent a message today, written in the destruction of his fleet. That message would echo across the galaxy as news of the battle spread. The Zephyrian Dominion, masters of space for 3 millennia, had been humbled by creatures they had dismissed as primitive. Meanwhile, aboard the UNS Defiance, Captain Sarah Chen watched the lone alien survivor disappear into hyperspace. Around her, the bridge crew worked to shut down their advanced systems and return to normal operations. "Clean sweep, Captain," Commander Rodriguez reported. "All hostile vessels eliminated except for the flagship, which is withdrawing as ordered." "Casualties?" "None, ma'am. No damage to any human vessel." Sarah nodded, feeling a mixture of satisfaction and sadness. The battle had been necessary to protect Earth, but she took no pleasure in the deaths of so many alien warriors. They had been brave, fighting to the end even against impossible odds. "Engineering shut down the Nexus array. All ships, return to your previous positions." Across the solar system, human vessels began to fade from their enemies' sensors as stealth. Systems reactivated. Within minutes, space appeared empty, except for the usual cargo ships and patrol craft. The devastating coordinated attack might never have happened. "Captain," Lieutenant Kim called from communications. "Priority message from Earth Defense Command." Admiral Martinez's face appeared on the main screen, his expression grave but proud. "Captain Chen, we monitored the entire engagement. Outstanding work. How long before news of this battle reaches other alien civilizations?" "Unknown, sir. But I suspect we won't have to wait long. The quantum signatures from our weapons will be detectable across half the galaxy. Every advanced species within 100 light-years probably knows something major just happened." "Good. Let them wonder." Today, humanity announced its presence to the galaxy. We're no longer a primitive species hiding in one small system. We're a force to be reckoned with. Sarah looked out at the stars through her view screen. Somewhere out there, other alien empires were receiving reports of what had happened here. They would learn that Earth was defended by technology they couldn't understand, coordinated in ways they couldn't predict. Some would decide that humanity was too dangerous to approach. Others might see the destruction of the Zephyrian fleet as a challenge. Either way, the galaxy had changed today. "Orders, Captain?" Rodriguez asked. "Take us home, Commander. I think we've done enough for one day." As the Defiance began its journey back to Earth, Sarah reflected on what they had accomplished. One human ship had destroyed an entire alien fleet in 5 minutes. The message was clear. Humanity would not be conquered, enslaved, or intimidated. The age of human expansion into the galaxy had begun, and it had started with a demonstration of power that would be remembered for generations. Other species would approach Earth with respect, or they would not approach at all. In the depths of space, quantum echoes from the battle continued to spread outward at faster-than-light speeds. Across the galaxy, alien civilizations detected the impossible energy signatures and began to ask the same question. Who were these humans, and what kind of weapons could destroy an entire fleet so completely? The answer would reshape the balance of power among the stars. Humanity had announced its arrival not with diplomacy or trade, but with the complete annihilation of those who threatened Earth. The galaxy would never be the same.